All right, man, peace. So, as we know by now, the future Hall of Fame forward of the New York Knicks, formerly of the New York Knicks, Carmelo Anthony, he had his wishes granted. He was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's see how they report it.
Script. And with that, we welcome in the Hall of Famer Charles Barkley from Parts Unknown today on a Saturday afternoon.
Please, we know what Charles' big ass is. He got a golf club in one hand and a hot dog in the other hand.
Chuck, I'll say good to hear your voice. I haven't heard it yet, but I'm assuming I'm going to hear it. It's good to speak to you. What's your reaction? Melo to OKC.
First of all, you guys know how to screw up a Saturday afternoon on the golf course.
Blame the Knicks.
Whoa.
Blame the Knicks and OKC.
That's not our fault, Charles. I was having fun with my kids.
Your kids from which one of your baby mamas? Yeah, I told you Charles was on the damn golf course. He just forgot to mention the hot dog.
Okay, listen, man. I think it's a good trade for the Knicks. I'm a big Cantor fan. I like the McDermott coming off the bench, but I think I like Cantor. I think
Cantor's good. He's good in short stretches. He's instant offense coming off the bench.
I think he's one of the best low post scorers in the league. I think he gets a bad rap because people say he's not a great defender. There are a lot of great players who have been great defenders, but he can flat out score.
Well, he can score. I wouldn't call him a great player, but like Charles said, there have been a lot of great players who were not great defenders. He would know because he was one of them. And there are very few players in the NBA right now who play good defense, period.
From Oklahoma City's perspective, I don't know how this deal is going to work out because you got three guys who need the ball, who are all terrific players. But I think the biggest thing that I will be concerned, how much noise is there going to be around this team?
And I agree with Charles. I stated in the scenario with Carmelo going to the Rockets that it was going to be the same thing. I just don't see how it's going to work. You have three dribble guys. I think that it might be a little easier for Carmelo maybe in OKC because I believe that what's his name, Paul George will pick up a lot of things on the defensive end, right? You'll have him to guard guys like KD. Also, you'll have Roberson there. Roberson can guard. He can vacillate between guarding a Steph Curry or a Thompson, even though for the most part Westbrook will be guarding Curry. So I mean, it helps him a lot on the defensive end having Paul George, and then with a guy like Carmelo, who'll most likely be guarded by Draymond, he can bring Draymond out of the paint and help OKC by stopping Draymond from being such a phenomenal help defender, which he is.
This team, because everybody in the room knows Paul George is probably going to leave after 1 year.
Yeah, you never know. It depends.
And, that's been one of the things that's really been problematic for the NBA the last X amount of years. Like, all next year is going to talk about is LeBron leaving Cleveland. That's going to be the big elephant in the room.
So what? At the end of the 92 season, everything was about, are they going to trade Charles Barkley's fat ass? That's what they was talking about when you was in Philly. Charles is so funny, man. I remember that shit like yesterday when I was a kid. He demanded a trade from Philly, and he got traded to a team in the Phoenix Suns that won 53 games before he got there. Now, he took them to the next level, and the next year they won 62 games, and they got to the finals. They got smoked by Chicago. But, I mean, the way he talked, you would think that he that he was drafted by every team that he played on. Like, come on, man.
In the room. So I don't know how Westbrook, George, and Carmelo are going to work together.
Not very well. They're not going to work very well. Billy Donovan has not shown that he has the ability to stand up to Westbrook. So if you have a coach in a front office that's not going to stand up to Westbrook and make him expand his understanding of the game, his basketball IQ, for those of you guys who are Kobe Bryant fans who got upset when I said that Kobe's basketball IQ is not high, Westbrook is very similar in basketball IQ to what Kobe Bryant's basketball IQ was before the 07-08 season. All right, he's a mercurial talent. It's like a shooting star once again, but he has no stability. And It's going to be very interesting to see who's going to be clutch down the stretch, because all three of those guys are not clutch. Paul George has never hit a game-winning shot. Russ has, but he makes terrible decisions down the stretch. And it's going to be interesting to see if Carmelo, if his physical fitness has improved to the point where he can be a better player throughout the game. He's been very streaky the last few years. I mean, he's been streaky throughout his career, basically. But because his body started to deteriorate, he's had stretches of games, 6-7 games in a row, where he has not shot the ball well. So we'll see if that carries over into this season. Now, on the plus side, like I've said, for a championship level contending team, Carmelo is a third option, which is most likely what he'll be on the Thunder. So we'll see.
Carmelo's an offensive player, but the ball is going to be in Russell's and Paul George's hands. And if Paul George is going to be fully invested, or he just packed weights and time until he leaves to go to L.A., I think that's a big deal. But like I say, from the Knicks perspective, I think they got a good player. But man, this Oklahoma City thing, they got a lot of talent on paper, but there's a lot of question marks.
I agree. They do have a lot of question marks, and we'll see. I mean, I think they got to do something about the shooting guard position. At the very least, coming off the bench, Roberson is a very good defender, and I guess they're going to try to hide him by having three very good offensive players out on the floor at the same time. But, I mean, we'll see. And then what's up with Steven Adams? Are they going to try to implement him a little bit more in the offense this year? Or are they going to phase him out like they did last year? But I don't think they're going to allow the same hijinks to occur with Westbrook like they did last year, with guys boxing out so that he can get rebounds and silly shit like that.
Well, Chuck, let me throw the counter argument at you in terms of Melo. We've seen him so good as a catch-and-shoot kind of player for USA basketball over the years. At the age of 33, at this point, obviously wanting to be on a contender, chasing a championship, don't you think he'd be more amenable to that sort of role?
Well, he has to be amenable to any role at this point. I mean, he's chasing a championship. I mean, that's all there is to it. So we'll see. But once again, when you're on it, it's a difference between being on a team where you trust the decision-making of the point guard as opposed to being on a team where, Russell might not make the right decision. He might not see you in the right spot at the right time.
That's a good question. You got to understand something. First of all, Russell Westbrook hasn't signed his deal yet. So you got to factor that in also. I mean, I'm surprised Russell hasn't signed his deal. Like I say, the big elephant in the room is Paul George. But are they as good as the Rockets or the Warriors?
Well, I think that they'll be better than the Rockets, actually. The Warriors, no, because their system is not. See, the Warriors beat you with their system. They beat you with their system. They have like the Bruce Lee approach, be like water. They go into whoever's hot, whoever's open. With OKC, it's gonna be three guys out there going one-on-one, but they will be better than Houston, at least I believe.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I will tell you this. In a 7-game series, you're going to probably have to score, which the Warriors can do, and probably the Rockets. You're going to have to score at least 115 points. Man, I just want to give a guy a compliment. Sam Presti, to me, might be the best GM in the NBA.
Well, he's up there. Sam Presti's up there. But, you got certain GMs in the NBA who can get deals done that other guys can't get done. So Sam Presti clearly has connections that certain other guys don't have, whatever those connections are. People feel very comfortable doing deals with him, doing deals that oftentimes seem to favor the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I don't know what he has on a lot of these guys.
NBA. The stuff he has done the last few years, number one, obviously getting Westbrook and those guys and Durant and Ibaka and everybody. But even when he loses to Durant, he makes the situation as best as he can. Then he goes out this summer and gets Paul George. Now he gets Carmelo. Sam Presti might be the best GM because he gets really good players, and he don't give up a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And beyond that, I think that maybe is that many of these other teams' GMs feel like taking the players that Sam Presti has added with the assumption that, well, Sam Presti is such a great judge of talent. Look at the history of the guys that he's drafted. He's such a great judge of talent that if he wanted those guys, we should want those guys as well. If for no other reason, maybe we can package them later on. You know, if the Knicks was smart, they'd be looking to see when Sam Presti's contract expires and try to bring him on, you know, to save that shit show.
A lot. I mean, he does a fantastic job.
And Charles, I'm going to stick with that theme. With Sam Presti going out and making all these moves, does Russell Westbrook say, you know what, I want to sign this extension now because Sam has done all the things for me to say now I can go try to win a championship?
Man, I hope Russell stays there because Sam has done everything within his powers. I mean, think about it. There's not a single person who thought Paul George was going to end up there. There's not a single person who thought...
Damn, that boy is explosive. God damn.
Carmelo was going to end up there. I take my hat off to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've done everything humanly possible to give Russell so he wasn't a one-man band. And they still have Steven Adams, who I think is probably one of the most underrated players in the NBA.
Underrated or underused?
NBA. But like I say, man, I just don't know. That's like I say, you know, they want us to just guess all the time, and I hate that. I don't know how this...
You've been guessing on the air for the last 15 years. What are you talking about, man? I hate that. I hate guessing. Man, please. You've been guessing for the last 15, 16 years, man. Every year you're going to say the same shit. You got the same 3-4 lines. Ginobili! And the Warriors ain't going to win. They're a jump shooting team. They're not going to win, Ernie.
I don't know how this James Harden and Chris Paul thing going to work out in Houston. Does it look good on paper? Yes, it looks good on paper. But then, D. Scott, you know, we don't play basketball on paper. Like I say, listen, I'm just going to give Oklahoma City a lot of credit to get a player like Carmelo. But listen, from the Knicks perspective, I think they did great considering the situation they were in.
They did okay. The Knicks did all right. The Knicks are always going to get the lower end of any deal because of the reputation that their upper management has from the owner on down for incompetence and bad decision making. So, you know, they did all right to get an Enes Kanter. Hopefully they could package him in another deal and get some. If I was the Knicks, I'd take Enes Kanter and the other guy, McDermott, and package him with Porzingis and send them somewhere else for some draft picks. The Knicks need to start thinking about rebuilding because Porzingis does not want to be there. They need to look at Sam Presti, how many more years Sam Presti has on his contract. The Knicks don't need to be looking at players. They need to be looking at GMs. That's what they need to be looking at. You know, the Knicks are looking at trying to build the roof, and they haven't even laid down the foundation of the house yet.
Chuck, just to backtrack a second here, you weren't one of the guys killing Sam Presti when he made the James Harden deal, were you?
Well, you got to understand something. I'm one of the guys who think everybody who killed Sam Presti for that deal don't know anything about basketball.
Okay, just making sure.
I agree with that because they were at the point where they had to choose between James Harden and Ibaka. And I myself felt like they already had two great perimeter players in Durant and Westbrook. And, you know, Ibaka at the time was known for being a great shot blocker and also having a very good mid-range game. So you had to let one of them go. So, you know, Harden had to go. But, I mean, if Harden was still on OKC, he wouldn't have developed into the guy that he is now.
No. Let me make this point because D. Scott knows this. James Harden would have never been James Harden if he stayed in Oklahoma City.
Ding.
You know, that's the thing that people forget. They wasn't going to have three guys average 30 points a game, basically, if James Harden had stayed there.
Let me say this, though. By going to the Rockets, James Harden had a chance to fully blossom as an offensive force. But had he stayed on OKC, he could have been one of the great specialists in NBA history. You know, and they probably would have won a championship or two by now because they got the Spurs number. OKC has the Spurs number. I mean, no other team in the NBA has the Spurs number like OKC. If they could have kept Durant and Westbrook and Harden together and maybe made Harden kind of a specialist coming off the bench, kind of a perimeter version of Kevin McHale, like Kevin McHale was before they lost Cornbread Maxwell from the Celtics, when Kevin McHale was like a 2 or 3 time six man. They could have been an unbelievable team, because you would have had Harden and Westbrook out there, and whoever the two guard was, just rotating. Or most likely they would have made Harden the starting two guard, and after they got rid of their point guard, whether it was Reggie Jackson or Derek Fisher, you move Westbrook over to point guard and had them. They'd have been one of the great backcourts of all time. But all that's hypothetical.
I actually thought, first of all, you take away this too also, that this is a team that should have won the NBA championship 2 years ago.
Right.
Could have won. I don't think that OKC would have beat Cleveland if they'd have made it to the finals. I would have been rooting for them, but I don't think they would have won.
But letting James Harden go, to me, was a stroke of genius, because he's a hell of a player, but he wouldn't have been a hell of a player if he had stayed in Oklahoma City, because he would have never had the ball.
Hey, Chuck, before we let you go, I know you're aware that the president went on another tweet storm this morning, including what he described as a disinvitation to Steph Curry, who has expressed his desire to not attend any sort of White House ceremony to honor the champion Golden State Warriors. What do you make of this unprecedented back and forth between the sitting commander-in-chief and an NBA team?
Well, let me say this first off. Steph Curry has the right to decide that he does not want to support the current presidential regime, and Donald Trump has the right to publicly speak out against the athletes that have decided that they're going to start this war of public relations against him and his regime. I have no problem with him clapping back. I have no problem with them clapping at him. It is what it is. But everybody's trying to make it look like he's being petty. Well, he's shown that he is going to answer back. Some people take the high road, quote unquote. He doesn't believe in taking the high road. That's already been firmly established. Okay, and I put the high road in quotes because sometimes you got to get down and dirty with people to show them that you're not going to take their shit. But I'll be covering that a little bit more in depth in another video. Well, let's see what Chuck had to say on this issue.
Well, I think it's unfortunate. I think it's really unfortunate. I think that it's an honor and a privilege to go to the White House, no matter who the president is. It's an honor and privilege to go to the White House.
I agree. I think that people in that position to not go to the White House, basically what you're saying is that you really don't have anything to say. You really don't have any understanding of what you claim you're protesting or what you claim your beliefs are. Because if you really could expound and elaborate on and articulate what your beefs are, you wouldn't be worried about confronting anybody in regards to what their policies are. The reason why a lot of these guys don't want to go to the White House is because they really don't have a real way to verbalize what their complaints are. They don't understand international policy, and they don't really know what they're going to say. So they don't want to be put in the position where they have to confront him and look foolish. That's basically all it is. And plus, a lot of these guys, no disrespect, they have the minds and the thought patterns of females, to be quite honest with you.
And also, I thought it would have been an opportunity for those guys to sit down and talk to the president about some of the issues and concerns they had.
Exactly. Look, I mentioned on a video a long time ago, I can't remember which one. It's one of the Donald Trump videos that I did back in the day. You should be eager, the more that you dislike Donald Trump, to accept that invitation so that you can go there and pick his brain and find out how his brain actually works, as opposed to the image that he portrays on television. Some people get on TV and they portray an image. All presidents do that, including Obama. Obama got on TV and he portrayed an image of somebody who was tactful and always in control. And a lot of times that's just a mask. George W. Bush got on TV and he portrayed the image of somebody who was a hokey and a little, always dumbfounded. You may have met him in person and found out that wasn't the case. George W. Bush, by the way, in his post-presidential life has become a very, very accomplished artist and painter. Bill Clinton always depicted himself as somebody, while president, who was shrewd and sharp. And, as we know, in a lot of his personal life, he totally lacked the self-control. So you're supposed to, if you're somebody who's really serious about whatever issue you claim to be about, you have an opportunity to meet this man face to face. You should never be wary to go and meet your enemy and look in their face, or at least the person that you perceive to be your enemy, and pick their brain and find out how it actually works. That's how you get to their weaknesses. Then you could leave the White House and speak with a lot more fluidity and knowledge in regards to what your protest actually is about and what you don't like about him. Right? But anyway, like I said, we'll cover that in another video.
They had. If I got a chance to sit with the president, I'll tell you, we're all concerned about police brutality. I'm concerned about DACA. That would have been a chance that they could have negotiated a sit down instead of just coming in and do that informal stuff where he stands there and you get your jersey and everything. But
they're not thinking on that level, Chuck. They're too busy being woke. All right, they're woke. They're worried that if they go and meet with Trump, that all the Black Power simpletons on the internet and all the liberal blacks and pro-blacks are going to jump in their quote-unquote mentions on Twitter and Instagram and call them sellouts and coons. That's what they're worried about.
It's unfortunate, and it's just really sad, to be honest with you, because it's an honor and a privilege. When guys start not going to the White House because they don't like who the president is, I think that sets a bad precedent. I
agree. You can't call yourself a so-called proud American, but you're going to decide that you're not going to acknowledge who the president is because you don't like his policies. If you are a proud American, then you have to acknowledge who the president is. When you're dealing with the scriptures, you understand that they're all the same Pharaoh, just different face. They're all the same Caesar, just different face. All right? It is what it is. So, when you operate from the spiritual perspective, you're not worried about that. But these guys who claim to be woke and they want to unify everybody, but your plan to unify is to not meet with Donald Trump. Is that an act of unification, or is that an act of I'm going to stay in my corner and you stay in your corner because I'm too immature to actually have a conversation about the issues that I claim to have a dispute about?
President.
All right, Chuck, back to the course.
You know what? Because it's something you don't hear that often. Charles Barkley for birdie.
No.
When you say birdie, you might be talking about some fried chicken or something, because you damn sure ain't birdieing on a golf course. But anyway, I just wanted to include this little interview because, Chuck, as usual, he spoke his mind. And anyway, peace.